Hi, this video is going to show you how to add a checklist to a table. So it's pretty fun, kind of helpful. So what you're going to do is you're going to go and you're going to insert a table. So you start by inserting your table, and let's say we want to have a 3-column table, and then I want to add a couple of rows, so I'll just say insert row below, and I could have set that up at the beginning, but I'm just going to go ahead and insert a couple of rows below. Now notice that at the top you have your table options. So right here, if you do that drop down, you can have your table options, and you can have kind of be aware of this. This is where you can change your border colors, your alignment, etc. So let's just decide that eventually I'm going to want this table to have no borders, but that's where I would change that. But right now I want to insert a checklist. And in order to do that, it would be helpful to insert another table inside my table. So I'm actually going to decide that I don't want this third row, or third column, so I'm going to say delete column, just so I have 2. And I'll include my checklist. So I'll say insert, and I'll insert another table. And in that, I want to have a checklist, so I'm going to do 4 columns. Now they're going to show up here, and then I'm going to put this little, make sure that you have this entire thing open, the more, and I have this choice of checklist. I'll just highlight that right here. So here's your little checklist, and I would put that in here and say I want to do a little checkbox, and then next to it there'll be a space for something else, and then I'll do another checkbox. Now that checkbox can be centered, it can be whatever, I like where it is. And then I'm going to say, I'll just call approve. I just did something like this the other day, and I'll say deny, so that the person that is seeing this can decide they're either going to approve or deny your request. Now this looks really boxy and kind of overwhelming, so I'm also on the right going to put notes. Okay, so I'm going to have an approve, a deny, and then something where they'll explain why. So now I can highlight this entire table, and I can go into the table properties on the right hand side, and right now notice that it is black and 1 point. So I can see that I've got a border and it's black and it's 1 point. I'm going to change it to 0 points. And notice I had the wrong table highlighted, because what that did was it just took away everybody. Well, I don't want that whole big table gone. I want the little tiny baby table. So what I need to do there is I need to make sure that I'm on this table. I'll grab it, and I'm going to go up to the top, and I'm going to say my border color is just going to be white. So now I see this approve and deny. Okay, I don't really like the formatting all of a sudden. So I can go back and I can say, well, I can change this, and I could write justify this. So what if I want to write justify? I can go over. Now the boxes are right justified, but I also want this to be left justified. So I'm going to highlight it, and I would go to the left, just so it's a little smidge closer. And then I'll go to the left here. And now, the way this is set up, someone can approve it or they can deny it. But without that extra box, what would happen, I'll just show you if we had just put in a check mark. So if I just put in a check marks and I said approve, then I would click it and it would do that. And I don't want that. So that's why you would put in your table. Now you can also say, well, I no longer want these bottom rows. I didn't need them, so I'll delete those 2 rows. And then you might also decide that you don't want, whoops, I didn't mean that. You might also decide you don't want those borders at all, so you can go back over to the right and you can say, I don't want a border for this table. Now, that might look a little bit awkward because the notes is not aligned. So if I go back and I see, okay, I want to see what that looks like. Perhaps I want to have the notes in line with what I have for my approve or deny, and I can't quite get there with that. But maybe that's a little better, and maybe not. Maybe I want to center it. And believe me, you can spend a lot of time on this. You could also say to yourself, well, I didn't really want that outlined, but I kind of need something outlined. So let's just go back and see what we're looking at here. See this little drop down? You could just select a certain piece right there. You want that piece to be outlined. But over here, if you select this whole piece for this big table, you don't want that piece to be outlined. So perhaps you want to say, well, I don't want that piece outlined, but I do want this piece outlined. So I'd go back, grab the whole thing, and outline it at the whole black outline. And then I can go back and I can say upper, and I can go all the way to the top. So now it's maybe a little bit more organized, and then I could put a header up there if I want to, and just start to play around with what this form looks like. So there's our check boxes, and we could always have both of them checked. There's no limitation there, but it kind of lets you know. You could type in notes, hey, yeah, this looks great, love it. You could change your borders, like let's say you don't want that to be a black border. Maybe you want it to be kind of a grayish border, just so it's got something there. Maybe you want to have a fill there, so you can grab the whole thing and you can start to play with getting the cell background color. There's lots of things you can do. So that is the checklist.